Hello, brothers of blue, and welcome to another Royal Retinue review. The review is my way of giving back to my Patreon and YouTube members something back for their amazing generosity. And here they can submit one photo, well, 4 photos of one mini for me to review and give them feedback. And again, this is a way to give them something back. And this is something that I do monthly. So if you've been here for a while, you've probably seen a few of this. And if you're new and you want to take part, well, you have to sign up for my Patreon channel or for my YouTube membership. It has to be Men at Arms tier or above in any of those 2 places. And if you can't or you don't want to support me on Patreon or as a member, and you still want your minis reviewed, I advise you join the PMP Facebook group. PMP stands for Painters Motivating Painters, and once a month you can submit your minis there, and the great Vince Venturella will review them for you free of charge. He is that amazing. But for now, this is again for my own retinue. Okay, so as always with the review, I won't be able to see your messages while I'm doing it because I have my Photoshop open and I can't look at that and do the review at the same time because I don't have 2 monitors because I'm poor. But so if you want to ask some questions, or you have some questions to ask about the mini shown or about painting in general, post them in the chat and I will go through the whole chat and have a look later on. But for now, we're going to start. We have 8 entries today, very interesting, all of them, and we will be here for an hour and a half, more or less, and we will go in deep into those minis very soon. As for upcoming videos, this Friday there's a Chaos Warrior. It's almost done. I can't show you a picture because it's not finished yet, but it's looking very, very nice. And apart from that, you may not have noticed that I've started doing shorter length videos that are basically extracted from old videos. So those are not new. None of the tips, heavy contrast tips videos will be new. They will just be recut from longer videos. So feel free to ignore them if you want. But I think it's a good way to have all very short and very quick recipes there. I think it's a good idea, and I will keep doing it in between the videos. So next one I think will be, I'm not sure, I will recut one of the videos. Probably going to do the camo cloak from the past Tanith video that came out this Friday, and you haven't seen the Tanith video, I recommend you do because it's very good. So without further ado, I think it's time to deep dive into the, or dive deep, into the review. So let me check. Okay, so we are going to start with Look. Look was the first. All these minis are reviewed in order of me getting those emails. So we started with Look. It was a very early sender, and he says he has submitted one very good looking, very striking looking vampire. This is Prince Duval from the. It's one of the Underworld's Warband. I also painted him. He's a great mini to paint, by the way. It's a shame that those Warbands are very hard to find, but if you can find one, I recommend you get it because it's really good. So we have a very a striking version, very different from what you are used to, which is black or red or even white, but blue armor. Looks really good with a very intense gold trim. And he has been doing some business by the look of his hand and his face. And he looks really good. I really like it. But the only thing that I would do is push the contrast a bit more. So I hope you can... you can see my mouse, which was a problem, apparently. So... you can see that he went to this kind of mid blue here, and it's not bad, but you can push it a bit further. That's the first thing that strike me as very obvious. The shadows are nice. He has a very good level of darkness, but I think as with many people, whoops, what are you doing? As with many people, breaking the contrast barrier, so going way lighter than you think, it's a good idea. It's one of the most important things you can do. So what I would do probably is take something like tempered glass blue and do another highlight, and then a couple more. Hope I can show it to you now. Is that enough? No, that's too dark. Also, trying to be very thin with your highlights is not easy. I know that, but it's something that you may want to practice. So, for example, here is very obvious. We have this thick highlight. The idea is to do another highlight that is the same length as this, so it covers the same space, but thinner. So something like this. Let me do a bit more opacity here. I'm going to go a bit smaller. So something like this, and then take the edge here, like this. And once you have this one, you can go even brighter than this. So you can take something like Bahar of Blue, would be something like this kind of color, and do another one. And you can go even brighter, you can go into pure white, by the way. I'm just going to do something quick here. So that's basically the only thing that is left. I really like how the shadows are very dark. Something like this. And you can even go into pure white and do a final dot here at the corners. So there is plenty of space to go brighter there. Let me show the difference. So from here to there, it has a bit more impact. And if you don't like that heavy metal look, then well, that is maybe not for you. But it seems like if you are here, that's what I do, so that's what I suggest. But I highly recommend you go and try to push the contrast a bit more if you want. You can even, instead of using a blue, you can even use a very pale green, so something like Gauss Blaster green, something like this, will also work very well. For example, I'm going to show it here on his arm. There you go. I've used that a lot and it works very well. Maybe it will even probably work better than the other one, just because it goes with a greener tint of the highlights. Something like this. Yeah, I really like that. Then another thing to try to improve is how you paint gems. By the way, not going to touch the flesh because I really like it, so that's really well done. But I will touch how you paint gems because they are just red. So go and watch. I have a video about painting gems, so that may help you. But the idea is to take a very dark red. Oh, by the way, my kid is around here, so if you hear noises, it's just a kid being a kid. And move like that. And you can apply a shadow here at the top, just like this. Same here. It has to be, the shadow has to be at the top of the gem, and then you can move into a very bright orange. I like orange for the highlights instead of a pink. Personally, it's a personal preference. Just like that, and then maybe brighter. It has to be brighter than this. There you go. There will be something like Lugnath orange right there, and do the final highlight. And then you can take pure white and do a dot here. I know this is difficult, but this is the kind of stuff that elevates your minis. So you can see the difference there is quite substantial. As for the blood, my only suggestion is try to think how blood will flow from the fingers into the hand. Because right now, let me pick this color so I can do kind of a mock-up of, there you go. And I'm going to make it harder, the opacity a little bit. So it's just like a blob of red on his hand, but real blood would probably flow from the spaces in between his fingers. So I'm going to delete this more or less and try to make something different. So probably something like this. Instead of just a blob of red. Makes it more realistic. The fingers can be all red, that's fantastic, but you have to paint like little drips in between the fingers where it will flow naturally from the hand, instead of just a blob, which doesn't really look realistic. The same thing can be applied on his face, by the way. You can just, instead of making just a blob, you can just a second, I will do it. Now he looks like a drag queen, but that's not the final look. So just like drips of blood from the mouth. Just like that. I kind of like that better than just a mass of red there. But yeah, apart from that, the flesh is looking really good, but you can judge. I think it looks better, personally at least. And finally, the same advice that I did on the blue armor can apply to the gold, because I see you have basically a gold and a shade, maybe a lighter gold, but you can go into pure silver here, and I think because you have deep shadows, so it doesn't really hurt if you go pure silver for the highlights. So just pick up the details here. I need to go brighter than this. There you go. Otherwise it looks awful on the Photoshop. Yeah, just picking up the edges very lightly. Basically increasing the contrast, which is what I like to do basically. But you know me already. So something like this. It helps define the shapes and helps creating a better look overall. With this such small scale, you need to go very bold with the highlights. So yeah, but again, you did a very good job. I really like that color scheme, by the way. It's very Thousand Suns, but I think it works very well. So from here's to here's, very simple things to try to work on. And also practicing doing thin lines is a very good exercise to get brush control. We did that with Carlos, that went into a private one-on-one tutoring, and we basically worked on making him do thin lines, which helped him improve massively. So thank you very much, Luke. That was a really good submission and a really lovely mini. I really like Prince Duval, so it was a pleasure to review it. So why don't we move into the next one? Oh no, this is that is the last one. This is from Anton. He's again, as with Luke, his first submission, and this is a very good looking minotaur. Very good color scheme, by the way. The blue armor contrasts very well with the reddish brown skin, and the horns are really well done. Very realistic in how the horn itself gets darker the thinner it is, which is how horns usually are. And it's a great mini to practice musculature, and we are going to talk about that. So this looks really good. It has a good level of contrast, but I think the contrast is applied in the wrong way. This is a very common mistake. Let me grab a bit of those colors so we can have them for future reference. Let's be clever here. So the skin has, oops, I need to go full opacity for this. So the skin has this color. It has this this one. And then we have the darker brown here. There you go. That is. So we have these three colors used to paint the skin. There you go. And the thing here is you have a good level of contrast. One can say that you can even go darker than this brown red. You can go to something like Rhinox hide, so something like this very deep brown. Put it here like this. This is actually very good progression for the skin. I'm not sure I grabbed the main highlight color well. No, I didn't. And I paint here over this. Yeah, that's more like it. So the main issue here is something that is very typical with painters that are starting or that are at this point of breaking through like a main discovery, and this is how you are placing your highlights. So you have a good level of contrast. You chose your colors very well. This is a very lovely piece, but you are applying your highlights, let's say, in a topological way. So you have, like, think about the muscles like mountains and valleys, and you are placing your highlights in the highest point of each mountain, and your shadows. Oh, sorry, and your shadows in your darker, in your deeper valleys. And that's not how light works over musculature or over anything. So if you imagine your light hitting from the top, because usually we are highlighted by the sun, your highlights are not normally placed like this. So let me explain. This is a very good spot to practice this. So let me move here so I can have my colors here. So I'm going to paint over some of the muscles here so we can see more or less what I'm talking about. So we have our muscles here. We're going to raise our highlights, and I'm going to show you what I mean about not placing your highlights correctly. So we take our highlight color, and you have applied it in the middle of the muscle as it's going up from the body, but you have to apply your highlights. Let me turn this. Let me turn the opacity down. You have to apply your highlights on the upper side of each muscle, not in the middle. So your highlights should be here in these muscles, here, here, and here. Like this. So it goes for here, and for here, and for here. And if we move into this color, which just seems like a good highlight color, we can even go further. If you do this, you have actually more space to do your highlights, because you are not constraining your surface in all directions, just in one. So you can push your highlights further. And it's also a very good way of maximizing your contrast, because you are placing your highlights right next to your maximum shadows. So we are applying our highlights here, something like this. And you can see the main difference. This is not really a very realistic looking I'm not a musculature expert, but I'm seeing muscles that I don't think are there in a person, but this still stands. And then you can take your shadow colors, so you can take your this color here and do and start shading in the other direction. So you shade here, and then you have a space, enough space to take this very dark color and apply it just next to your maximum highlights, but in the other direction, of course. That way you will have absolute maximum contrast, and it will look very striking, and it will also read very well without looking unrealistic, something like this. So from here to here, that's the main take, and it's something that as humans we know how to read muscles and faces very well, just because we are programmed to do that. So it looks weird because it's not highlighted in a natural way, and you can get away with that in armor or in stuff like that. But in skin and in muscles and in faces, you really need to look a very realistic approach. Otherwise, it always looks off. Another sample. Let me do the leg, because the legs are very complicated places to do this. So this muscle here is it is well done because it's how light will hit. But this other muscle here, we're going to erase this highlight, and we are going to pick this, and the highlight should be here, just like this, just like this. And you can increase the highlights here. And then you can take a darker color and you can come here and define this very well like this. So you can see the very big difference it makes from this into this. It's very simple, but that's the main thing I want you to take from this review is try and learn how to paint musculature in a realistic way. It will help you massively, and it will increase your it will make your paint jobs look really, really good very fast. Very good examples, people that do this, is go and look for paint jobs by Mark Masclans, which is a Fleshstone master. Angel Giraldo also does this very well, and it's very approachable. You have a lot of pictures of his models, and he paints a huge variety of models. So take references, and if you can't visualize your light and your dark areas well, go and say and check for reference. Let me do this. I have an idea. Let me do this leg from this side here, so you can see I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to erase this highlight. And I'm going to take my highlight color, and the highlight here will be here, here, and here. And then again, as I said, we can go much brighter than this, because we now have space to do so. Like this. Like this, and you see it really makes a huge difference in terms of how this looks. So again, you have a very good understanding of color schemes and of color choices. You just now need to break that barrier, which is how light interacts with the shapes, and then you will have a very good paint jobs in the future, and you're going to do very well, because you really know how things work, and I really like your color choices. So, and you have a good understanding of contrast. So good job, Anton, and I really hope this was helpful for you. I could have gone into other spaces, like doing more highlights for the armor and so on, as I did with look, but I like to take and do individual advices for each one, and I think this is the most important bit for you. So I really hope that was helpful. So thank you for your submission, Anton, and I hope to see you the next month. good job. So we move into Tim. Again, this is Tim's first submission. Tim has been probably the longest standing YouTube member, and I think he was the first. I'm not sure, but I think he was the first. And he has been a long-time supporter, and it's great to have him here finally. And we have this a striking mini, and the first thing that is striking is this is an NMM actually. It's really good. He told me he was inspired, that he thanked me for pointing out Richard Gray's videos, and he has been using Richard Gray's style of painting NMM, which shows, because that is basically Richard Gray in a nutshell right there. So I want to show this little gobbo because the NMM is just really, really nice. A couple of things I would like to add to that NMM, if you don't mind, is I will probably add, let me reduce the size of this, otherwise I'm going to destroy that, is add the edge highlights on the armor, even especially on the darker spaces like here and here and here, and you can add some lines here where it meets, because one metal piece will reflect onto another metal piece. So this piece here, for example, will catch the reflection from this piece, so you can add a bit of reflection there. This is like the next level, because once you understand here, for example, this edge needs to be highlighted, and I will probably add one highlight there. And I will probably try to add one highlight there. So very simple things. You can see it goes from a very good to striking, and I really like that. And you can even add some color, because you have this red mushroom here, and I think it's a fantastically good opportunity to add some color into your NMM, if you, and not only color but also realism, if you tint your surfaces which are near to a color things with a color, for example, like that. And I think it makes for a very good looking NMM. So try to add those things, and on top of that you have like fire and coals here, and I think taking a bit of this red and orange and put it into the surrounding NMM, it's also a great idea. That little bit of OSL, you can even bring it up to here, because it would catch even up there a little bit of red, something like that. But of course you have to add this into everything, including the mushroom here and everything around it. So you will have to go into that very bright yellow, just like this and like this. You get the idea. So yeah, like that. And very simple changes, but ones that I think elevate the paint job quite a lot. Apart from that, that is actually at first I had to catch I had to look at this like 3 or 4 times before I realized that was NMM. That's really, really well done. But you need to finish things like painting his nails, for example, which I think detracts from the overall effect, and I think it's you probably miss them in the oops. More opacity, please. You probably miss them, but it's a good idea to just paint them. Okay. So basically it doesn't distract from the amazing paint job that you did. But yeah, good job and really well done on that gobbo skin. And you asked, you wanted some advice on painting squig skin. Actually, after the Chaos Warrior is done, I'm going to paint one squig because that's the free GW Mini this month. So I'm going to grab one and paint it when I'm done with the Chaos Warrior. So expect that. But in the meantime, the Semite buys that I gave Anton in the past mini, I'm going to give it to you. Pick up the muscle surfaces and highlight them from the top. Form well light. You can add some edge highlighting here and there, but basically you want to increase the contrast. Something brighter, something like this, and work the muscles as you would in a more realistic way, and you will have a fantastic looking mini. So again, more highlights and placed where light should hit them. And then you can add some color. For example, you can instead of doing same red for the wounds, you can take a very dark pink and do the wounds, this wound in pink instead of red. Whoops. Sorry about that. Just do a bit of color variation, and also you can take something like a very dark purple and do the shadows with this. So we can basically take something like this, something like Nagar of Night, and do our final shadows with this. Let me bring down the opacity. Oh, damn! I'm so bad with Photoshop. It's astonishingly bad. So we can add this to increase our contrast and make the red look more interesting. We are adding some information in the shadows, which is also nice. And I think it gives for a more interesting looking squig, but maybe that's just me. But again, he also submitted a picture of the final Warband, and it's quite striking to look at. So congratulations, team. I really hope this was useful. Keep watching Richard Gray's video, because he's a better painter than I am, and you will probably take something very good from if you try to push your skills by imitating him. You are in the right track, basically. So fantastic job. Really impressed with the NM here. Keep doing that. It's amazing. So we are going to move into Christopher here, and this is the second Christopher submission. He submitted another Space Marine. It was the Samurai ones, and he has submitted a full war one. This is I think was 5 or 6 guys that he painted in 7 hours or 5 hours, something like that, and they look absolutely stunning for that time. I really like them. He's looking for advices here, so I think the bronze looks absolutely stunning. Like, this is one of the best bronzes, like realistic looking bronzes that I've seen, so good job there. As for things to improve, well, you can always add some more highlights into the red, which has been dry brushed, and I think dry brush is the right approach if you want to paint something very, very quickly, and he has done a very smooth job of them. I wish I could show you the other picture from the back, but trust me, it's a really good, it's really well done. And as for things to improve, well, I will personally try to give a bit more color variation into the armor, but not in the armor. I think the armor looks fine, so I will probably take something like black and paint these joints black so it doesn't look like metal, because it doesn't make sense if they are metallic. So paint them black and then just highlight them using grays. I will probably go for neutral grays, just because this is very there's something small. This is massive. Go. Just because you have a lot of cold tones all over the armor, so just paint the joints, then do one more highlight of black, so something like Dawnstone. That was something like Eshin Gray, something like Dawnstone. Another highlight. I know this is meant to be a speed paint job, but you know, this is all about trying to get better. So I'm going to give you the advice that I think will make this mini stand out. So just like that, and you can see that all of a sudden it's a very small change, but it goes from yeah, this looks like a statue with some bits painted to this looks like a special with a very cool armor, and I think that works very well. And another change will be to again increase the highlights on the cloaks. You have gone into a pure red, and you can probably move into something like very light oranges. No, this need more opacity. So just some edge highlights around the cloak with very light oranges will help you. Something like look enough, which would be what is it? Something like this. Here the picture is very blown out, but so it doesn't really register here, but something like some edge highlights here and there, perfecting the weapon, which is a bit is messier than the rest, so tidying up with edge highlights and so on. And also you have a very lovely plasma effect here, so why not take this blue and something like this and try to make it glow all across the weapon first of all. So on the sides here, but also of course on the armor, so having some of that glow hitting here. It's probably not really a good idea considering this already has a lot of blues in it, but it can work. It will work better with paints and not with Photoshop, by the way, because Photoshop is not. But you get what I'm trying to say here. Move into a very, very bright blue. Something like that. So that will help sell the OSL and make it look better. And you can do the same kind of thing with the eyes as you did here. So we're going to take this dark blue color, paint it inside the eyes, and then take this very bright blue and then white, and then do this glowy eyes effect, which I think it will look pretty cool with them. So yeah, also that's my advice here. And apart from that, I really like them, especially for the time that you took painting them. I think they were very impressive. So yeah, from here to here, maybe something to look for to try to take them to the next level if you wish. But by the way, you did a fantastic job on the sword, so you should be proud there. You maybe can see it here, but it's a very lovely. He used my tutorial. The only thing is you probably need to clean up this detail here. I would probably paint it black or dark gray as you did with the rest, but apart from that, great job and very well done, and you should be very, very proud of that effort and of that kill team. Sorry, my god. Okay, we are moving into the Chelsea, and Chelsea has a very interesting exercise here because he wanted to paint. She wanted. Sorry, Chelsea. She wanted to paint a mini which was basically all blue. It's inspired in Megamind from that Megamind movie, and it's all basically different blues. So sort of what I did for the Green Knight, when usually people does for the Green Knight, but apply to a different subject, of course. And I think she did a very good job. So she introduced some pinks into the flesh, which I think is a good idea. And you can take that even further. by using purple for the deeper shadows instead of the blues. So if you add purple into the shadows of the blues on the flesh, you will increase that organic feeling, something like this. It's going to turn a bit into Tyrannid territory, like Gina Steeler called territory, but there is a reason why they work very, very well. So adding some purples into the deeper shadows. Also here on the head especially, I will probably tone down those highlights on this like bulbs on his head, so that they are so that you have more midtones like this. So like concentrating these very bright highlights more into a point rather than like a big blob. And you can go brighter. You can go almost to pure white in this like bulbous spots on his head, something like this, nothing like that. So again, all taking that contrast that you have done very, very, very well in trying to separate the skin more from the rest of the blue details. The armor also has blue in it, which is a very good touch, and everything is looking fine. So she asked a couple of questions, and one of them is what's the main thing that needs to improve? And the main thing you need to improve is precision and the ability to make thin lines and small dots. That's what I will try you to encourage doing. So try to make your lines as thin as possible with your brush. I think that is the only thing you need to break and to gain the muscle memory, so all your paint jobs will look as good as possible. That's my take on that. So also she's asked if she's ready to do NMM, and the answer is always yes. Anyone is ready to do NMM. So the thing with NMM is, even if you don't do it right, just trying to do it will make you a much, much better painter. Just because it's a very good exercise and you're trying to basically do very small, very dramatic gradients in a very small space. So you need to practice blending, you need to practice brush control, you need to practice, and also you need to understand how light works. And all of that, even if you are failing, it's teaching you something, and it will latch into your brain, and it will help you develop all those very nice things to have. So yes, go and test some NMM. Watch my videos, watch Richard Gray's videos, which are really good, and I'm sure you're going to like them, and keep improving. But again, the main takeaway is try to do thinner lines, smaller dots, as small and as thin as you can, and it's a bit challenging and it's a bit frustrating at first, but but once you get it, it changes your painting style forever. But I really like this, Chelsea. I always tell you this, and you did a fantastic job, very good job differentiating all the blues and so on. And if I'm missing some questions, because I know you ask several and I can't remember them for what it's worth, so ask them again if I'm missing something in the Discord chat, and I will be very glad to answer. But I really like them. Also, one thing is I will try to increase the contrast on the metallic. So you have this very bright silver, looks like Vallejo metal color because it's so reflective, and you can add some of that into more places. So for example, here, the chest area here, don't be afraid of adding more highlights into the metallics. I know with metal color it can be very difficult because it flows everywhere, but trying, it's a good thing to do. You can take a very deep blue ink or just something like Leviathan blue and do some glazes here This needs to be darker. Something like this. And glaze the shadows on the blue more. I know you did a wash or something, but you can mix the Vallejo metal color with something like a blue ink or blue contrast, and do some shadows, increasing the contrast on the metallic blue a bit more. And also you can see here what I'm talking about precision is stuff like this, more definition. You have some points where, for example, this main bright highlight, it should be a real point here, and you should have some mid-tone around it, so it blends together instead of just being like a harsh, very light dot. But again, this is all practice and brush control, and that's basically what you need to do, is try to make thinner lines and smaller dots, essentially. But I really like this. This is a great effort and a very good exercise. Painting monochrome minis is a very good detail, and you chose and you made the right choices, making this gold and this yellow, which combines with the gold very well, and you have like a line of gold flowing onto all that blue. But yeah, so very small changes, but adding contrast into the metallics with more like solid coats, not just washes, doing more highlights, more bolder highlights with the metallics, and working on the smaller thinner lines, and maybe adding some touches of contrasting colors into the shadows of the different of the blue on the skin to just amp that warmness. But yeah, fantastic job. I really like it, Chelsea. Thank you for your submission as always. And after Chelsea, of course, we have to do Chris, which is Chelsea's I'm going to say husband, but I'm not sure if they are married or not. So sorry if you're not married, but for what it's worth, it's the same. So he submitted one old mini, and he said this is an old mini, but he has recently based, and you can tell it's an old mini. So we are going to be a bit more permissive with the mistakes, so to speak. So my main thing here that I will do is, well, paint looks a little thick on the gradient here. Also, the edge highlights look like super harsh. When you do an edge highlight and you want to do it well, you can't just take like white and do an edge highlight. You need to take a darker color, do a thick one, and then a very light color and do a thin one. So you should take something like mood green here, which I'm guessing this is something like mood green, and do a pre-highlight with this. Oh, this is too big. Oops. Okay, so you need to take that green first, do a thick edge highlight, which will add. Oh, this is not too small. My God, I hate Photoshop so much. Okay, this is better. You need to add like a buffer to that very bright highlight, otherwise it will look bad. And also you need to do the highlights here as well. I know it's difficult, but if you don't do it, it's cheating. And it doesn't look good. You really need to pick them out. Otherwise, all these shapes are kind of lost in between all of the shapes. It really helps bringing everything together. And then you take this very bright color here and do the final highlight. Just like this. So yeah, quite a big difference from here to here. Also, to add to this, it's very simple. You just need to add more glowiness to all the glowy details. So you can take this green, and you can just do a wash with this. It doesn't need to be precise. You just need to place this here here and here, like with a wash consistency. Just flood all those surfaces, just like that. And then you take a very bright green, something like mood green, or even some fluor colors if you have them, and just do a smaller recess here. Same for here. A very good color for this I really like is Vallejo's yellow green, I think it's called. Works fantastically well. It's super intense, just like this. And then you just can take basically Dawn Yellow or something similar like that and do a final detail here and there. This simple, you don't have to touch any of the rest of the mini. Just by doing this, you can take a very old mini that looks a bit dated and you think, well, this is not what I can paint now. But look the difference from this into this. It changes everything. You don't need to do anything else to this. Just add those glowy details into the chest and the face and the weapon here. You will probably need to do the weapon here with this very bright green. I will try probably to push this into the middle. Oh, I'm making the camera go all wonky. Into the middle here, same into the recesses here. You can use, for example, Tesseract Glow for the recesses, works very well. And then you can just take this super bright white and paint the middle here. And you can even add some crackling effects, some like lightning here, and just like that. And again, you don't need to do anything else. Just add these glow effects into the old paint job, and you go from old paint job into, well, very interesting and very striking paint job. Even without doing almost anything, you add a lot into it. So you may want to do that. We're not going to touch the base because you already know that needs a bit more work. You even said that, but you know. I think this is a very interesting way to bring in up old paint jobs. You don't have to repaint it. Just add some, like strip it and paint it again. You can just keep painting. So just add those final details, and you can bring something that looks a bit dated into your current painting skills with ease. And I think it's a fantastic, good idea to do without having to destroy all your previous work. So something like this, maybe lines here. I really like that. I'm just like that. This really makes a very massive difference. So from here into here with some simple glow effects, which can be done just with washes of different colors. So yeah, thank you for your submission, Chris. I hope that this helps you bring your all Necrons into the future. So we're going into the previous to last one. This is Norman, and he has been trying to improve his face game, and that is a good idea. And he's submitting one quite beautiful elf, because all elves are beautiful. This is a white lion with a massive axe, which I always found funny. And he has done the light reflection on the eye, and I applaud you for that. Well done. That is a fantastic achievement. The gems also look really good, and the only thing here I want you to take is you need to work on your neatness and on framing everything. For example, what I say with framing is some colors bleed into the others, and you don't have good definition into some of the details. Also, some of the paint looks thick, and this is horrible. This is something that's horrible to do to someone, which is zooming into unrealistic levels. But you can see that the paint is a bit thick, so you may consider thinning your paint down a tiny bit more. I know this is not fair, but this is a way. It is a good way to show these kinds of things. And when I say framing is, for example, you have bleeding paint into a lot of places. For example, you have gem bleeding into the carapace here. You have some yellow here, you have this gold down here, which makes it look confusing. So, and same for the axe here. You can see that you have some white here, which is weird looking into the compared into the darker blue here. So one thing you can do is try to shade all the details so they stand out. So for example, you can do that with a very dark brown like this color here, and you can go and just shade everything. Back in the day when they were painting very bright paint jobs in the 90s, the heavy metal did a very heavy, very aggressive black lining, but that has the purpose of defining all the details better. So sometimes recess shading can take something that doesn't look as appealing to appealing just with the recess shade. The rest is really good, but when it's confusing to look at, it can create the wrong impression. So this is a very good paint job, but we can make it better just by taking this dark brown and outlining the details, and you're going to see it now what I'm talking about. You can do this with Rhinox hide, you can do this with Cygor brown, fantastic color to do this. I've done that in the latest Stormcast video. I think it was the silver one, and you can see what a difference it makes from this into this. I didn't touch the highlights, didn't touch the midtones, didn't touch anything, just framing everything and making it more readable. So same goes for here. For example, you sometimes when you're doing highlights and that kind of small spaces, you mess up. It's something normal. There's nothing to be ashamed of. But you can go back with your contrast or your inks and just redefine all these shapes, and it makes it look better. Same for here. Just go and retouch this so it looks again more defined. And sometimes with plastic minis, especially some that are a bit older, you have to do this to increase the definition of some of the details. But that simple, very simple recess shade changes absolutely everything. Suddenly the paint job looks much better. It doesn't look, it's not making the highlights better, but it's making them more readable. They were really good back then, to begin with, but you need to work in that kind of detail. So being more neat, being more precise, and making everything look like framing everything into its own place. But again, you did a fantastic job. The only thing I will probably increase is some of the highlights on the red here. That's the only highlight I would probably touch, because this doesn't look like, looks like it needs a bit more highlighting. Oops. Yes, red here, some details here, but apart from that, you did a very good job. You just need to work on framing everything better. So there is no bleeding colors, there is no paint going where you don't want it. But apart from that, I mean, you can do it. Look at the eye. You can do this with ease. You just need to take your time, if you have it, and just work through the mini slowly but surely, and you will do a very good job. As for the face that you were interested, I will probably try to, maybe it's just because of the picture, I don't know, but I will take this kind of Balkany glow color and try to reduce the shadows here, because I think they're a bit too aggressive. So I will sometimes faces for faces you need to go a bit softer, especially for elves. You can go aggressive, but it's better if you go a bit softer first. Oh, I need to increase my size. So something, let's just blend this, and then take something like a midtone like this, something like this. And then take the highlight color, which will be something like this. Oops. And I think it makes the face a bit softer, which for an elf I think is a good idea. So take be careful with your shading on some faces, because they have super pronounced features, these plastic elves. So the wash will go into the recesses very aggressively, and you may not want that. You may want to, even if that's a feature of the sculpt, you may want to bring the sculpt into a place that you want, instead of just letting the sculpt be the guide of how you paint things. Sometimes you need to smooth out some details that are there to make it look better. So the difference from here to here, I think, is quite notable, and I think this is what you need to do to increase your painting skills, because you have the highlights and you have the brush control. Really, you just need to work slowly and neater, and you will be able to do it. But again, fantastic job on the eyes. I'm very proud of you. Fantastic job on the gems. Really well done. And the rest just needs a bit more definition overall, and you will be fantastically well suited. Also, I'm not showing the TMM axe because it's really well done, and just showing something because it's really well done, it kind of defeats the purpose of the video if I don't have anything to correct. But you did it really well. I saw that in the Discord before you sent me this email, and I also thought it was really good job. So fantastic, and well done. And also you are painting out, so you are already winning. So let's move into the last one. This will be Olivier, and this is well, this is quite a striking mini. This is a beautiful NMM piece of a witch elf, or whatever it's called. I know this is a character, but you know, it's an elf, so it's already fantastic. So he has a very good NMM, very desaturated, very again Richard Gray like, very Alessandro Gobi like, which is a very good compliment. This looks like it was painted by an early Alessandro Gobi. If you don't know who he is, look it in Instagram. It's really worth checking out. But that style reminds me a lot of him. So well, the hair needs a bit more work, but you already know that. You said that you hate painting hair, but some more highlighting to the hair, especially around this area here and on the tips, would make for a good. Let me take a bright gray and let me show if I can show you where to put the highlights. This is way too big. Let's make it a bit way smaller than this. This should be it. So we are going to place some highlights here, just near the head, so it draws attention into the face, and we can go way brighter than this without it looking gray. Just do some dots, because hair usually shines, so adding some more highlights there, just like that, just that. Do this here on the tips, and really makes the face glow lighter. Also, I feel like you can go way higher on the highlights on the face. I know the style you are going for, and I really like it, but I think you can probably increase your highlights, especially again as I tuck in Anton's mini, following how light works in the real world. So let's make this smaller, let's make this lighter. You can go into crazy high bright colors on the faces without them looking weird if you place your highlights in where they should be. So you can highlight here, the eyebrows here, the middle, tip of the nose, and you can even highlight just under the nose here a tiny bit, just like this, and here, and on the, what I don't like is this. I think I'm going to take that away. There you go. So you can see the massive difference just by adding one more bright highlight. It's super striking, and I think you should try it. Again, try to break that contrast barrier, that mental barrier that we have, and you can push it to extreme limits and still looking amazing. Like this. You can go into there, and it looks, I think it looks fantastic. You can even increase it here on the chest area, just to make it all flow into the face. Basically, you want to attract attention into the face, because it's what usually you want to make it happen. As for the NMM, I think the silver looks really good, the gold looks really good. There's some just places where I would change how you do, where you place your highlights and your shadows. For example, I think here on the crown, you want to put your highlights in the middle opposed to this one. So we need to have this here, and I will probably put my highlights here, and I'm going to take the shadow here, and I'm going to place it on the opposite sides here, something like this. You can take this almost pure white, and so basically opposed of what you were doing there, just to I think that looks better to me, from this to this. So try to, if you have two surfaces and they are touching, like into a corner, and you have some patterns of light and dark in one side, you want to mirror that into the other side, so it doesn't go dark with dark, it goes dark with maximum light and maximum light with dark, and so on and so forth. But apart from that, you're doing a fantastic job. So you did well here. So you have maximum light here, you have shadows here, but yeah, you can probably put a highlight here. The same goes for that. Let me explain. You have maximum dark here, so you probably want to add a maximum bright highlight here. You can add like a kind of secondary highlight there. I think that usually looks really good. Just like this. And leave that a bit darker, and there you go. See, it's the same principle. So you have maximum dark on one side, you want the other surfaces to have a maximum brightness just opposed to that. So once again, just for reference, this is the modified version and the previous version. So add contrast into the face especially. You can ignore the rest, because if you do this, all the attention will go into the face, and no one is going to look at the hands, no one is going to look at the feet, no one is going to look at anything, just on her face. And that's what people should be looking at, because that's like a focus point of the mini. So I think there's a good advice. But again, you did a fantastic job. It's a great paint job, and I've seen you evolve through the months, and it's really impressive, and it's really inspiring. So keep on painting and keep on pushing that contrast further. Even if you feel like it's too much, it's never too much. You can go nuts with it. Again, if you want to references of extreme high contrast, even on female faces, go and check the works by Magnus Clans. When I talk about flesh painting and faces, he is always going to be the reference, because he's the best. And he goes in some faces from pure black, and I'm talking about female faces, from pure black into a very light flesh tone, and it looks amazing, and it looks lifelike. So go and check his work. Use that as reference as where to place highlights and shadows and tones to add textures and so on, especially for larger scales, of course, because you know in this kind of scale adding texture into the skin is not a possibility. But I think you can tell how much of a difference it makes just to adding some more highlights into a face. It kind of brings everything to a whole nother level, and we didn't do much here. And again, remember, if you're doing NMM and you have split surfaces like a very harsh angle, and you want to oppose the light pattern on both sides so it looks more contrasty, which makes it look bright, more metallic. But again, Olivier, a fantastic job. I think you should be very, very proud of what you did. I already told you this on the Discord, but again, keep on doing what you're doing because I think it's a fantastic job. So that was it for the review, and now I'm going to check the chat and see how everything is going. And luckily, everything seems to be working, because otherwise it would be quite depressing if I've been talking for an hour and you haven't been able to hear me, for example. Okay, yeah, the Firepod looks great. He was talking about the minis that I just reviewed. You just assume my gender, Chelsea. Please don't troll me. And you always say more highlights than you want this. No, I want more highlights because I want you to go brighter. I just want you to add more midtones so the highlights are smaller but more intense. That's the key. I like the blue on the trim. He's talking about Chris's Necrom. Yeah, the blue on the trim on the chest is a very good touch, and the blade could be smoother, of course. The glazing on the sword was very matte, so more or less I just wanted it to be finished. Yeah, sometimes it just happens. You're trying to do something, it's not working. Probably because you're doing something wrong. There's nothing against you, but I had this conversation with Carlos. He was very frustrated with his painting because for some reason he just couldn't find the right consistency of for the paint. So and he was applying layers and layers and layers and layers, and he was ending up clogging up the details, and we just it's something that is very hard to point. But we were practicing because he was loading his brush too much with very thin paint, but if you're loading it too much, it will flow everywhere, it will create a mess. So sometimes there are some very small mechanical problems that you are having, and they are usually very simple. But yes, glazing can be frustrating if you don't have like a direct feedback, someone telling you, well, that's too much paint on your brush, that is wrong direction of application, your paint is not thin enough. All those sort of details that can be a bit frustrating. So I get it, and that happens to everyone. It's happened to me, and it still happens when I'm trying to do something that doesn't work. Usually, letting it rest and going back to it is usually a good idea. Yeah, when I was just talking about that. When I was doing the glazing, I didn't know you were supposed to wick the excess paint off your brush, so it ended up pretty mushy and chalky in places. Yes, you have to do that. Also, I know that I don't say that kind of stuff on my videos because I assume people already know some of the things. Because if I keep going to basic stuff all the time, it's going to be very long, very dragging videos, and I always tell people that come to see my videos, I assume you already know a couple of things, and if you don't, just ask in the comments and I will answer them very gladly. I always do. Oh, thank you, Paul. You adore my work. Thank you very much. I never know what to answer to those kind of things. Chelsea, when I feel you have forgotten that neatness is hard, real hard. Yes, I know neatness is hard. That's why I was telling you, you need to practice it. And the best way of practicing neatness is painting Space Marines. I know it's boring. I know that some people hate them, but doing heavy metal style Space Marines is the best way to be a better, neater painter. Just try to do those hyper thin edge highlights. And remember one thing that is very crucial is you can go with the outside colors and trim your edge highlights in so that they are thinner. But practicing those thin lines, those thin strokes, is what makes you a better painter. And after you have gotten that skill, you can just not paint the Space Marines anymore. But it's a very good skill to have and to develop. And the best, fastest way is just painting the Space Marines in a heavy metal style. It's amazingly how good it will make you be just trying to do those ridiculously thin edge highlights that they do. Joan is asking in Spanish, what do you have to do to have our pictures in these videos? And so I can give you advice. So I will say this in English, and then I'm going to say it in Spanish again, so maybe Joan can understand it, because I don't know if he knows English well enough. So just because he has in Spanish, I'm going to do it in both languages. So you have your mini featured here. What you have to do is subscribe to my Patreon or become a channel member on the tier Minotams or above. So it's the $5 tier or above, and that will grant you access to the review. You may want to, I know this is not like me fishing for money. It's just a way to get back something to the people that already was donating me. This started as a way of people that were already supporting me to get something back more from me, because I kind of felt like I wasn't giving them enough. So that's the only sole reason that these videos exist. So if you want to take part, join my Patreon or become a channel member, Minotams tier or above, and you will be just submit your mini each month. There is instructions there. They are always the same. Each month is the same. So just submit your mini. You don't have to wait for me to post something. You can just submit it for whatever month it is, and just send me a picture, and I will review it for you free of charge. Well, not free of charge. you are already paying, but I mean, you know what I'm talking about. And now it's going to be in Spanish, so it's going to sound a bit weird for some of you. Joan, si quieres participar, tienes que apuntarte a mi Patreon o hacerte un miembro en YouTube en la categoría Minotams o superior, y eso cada mes te da acceso a compartir una de tus miniaturas o una escuadra o lo que quieras que te aconseje una vez al mes. Te apuntas, están las instrucciones de cómo compartir las fotos, y me envías un email, y en el siguiente mes ya lo tendrás todo. So that was it. Olivier is asking, "Hey Juan, thanks for the review. I was afraid of pushing the contrast on the face of my mini because I didn't want the face to look too harsh. Given what you showed through the Photoshop, I would spend a bit more time on the mini and follow what you propose. Looks so much better." Yes, sometimes people are afraid of pushing the contrast, and you shouldn't be. If you feel like it went too far, you can just take it back with darker paint. And again, so just try it, and once you try it and you see it looks amazing, there's no going back. So I'm really looking forward to that updated version, Olivier. It was again a fantastic mini. Yeah, you are aiming at higher. I'm not necessarily, but I assume people know some things before watching my videos. There are other basic videos. For example, what's the name? I always forget the name. Why do I always forget the names of other content creators when I want to shout out to them? Sumikito or Thumikito or however that is pronounced. It makes fantastic technique videos. There are about 5 minutes long. I think they are like 5-minute tips or 5-minute whatever, and he goes through each of the techniques in surprisingly good detail and in a very fast and very entertaining way in his 5 minutes technique video. So go watch his videos if you want like a basic technique advice. Highly recommended. His channel has exploded in views and in popularity, and with for a very good reason. He's a fantastic content creator, and I highly recommend you join his channel as well. You have heard Chris's feelings. Nah. He is a big boy, and he's a Scottish, so I mean, he should be tough enough to deal with my criticism, which is all well intended, and you know that. Yeah, I've watched a bunch of his 5-minute videos. Great stuff. Yes, fantastic content. He makes great content, and he has a massive audience. Again, well deserved, because he is a great content creator. I remember when we kind of started at the same time, more or less, and he has gone past me because he is a better content creator than I am. I just cater to a very specific audience, while he is just doing the clever thing and doing general stuff videos. But I do what I like to do and what I enjoy. So, you know, I'm just keep doing my videos. And again, next Friday it will be this Chaos Warrior here. Look for this video because it's going to be awesome, especially the red cape. I'm really proud of that. This is the closest I've been to true heavy metal level of painting in a video. So stay tuned, because this is probably the first time where the heavy contrast motto really stands out to reality. So check it out in this Friday. Hopefully this Friday. I should be on time. Oh, my friend 8 Point to Start Painting is here. You catch the video a bit late, but thank you for having you here. Oh, also another great. He was twitching for a while, and he is now starting to make some more YouTube content. Another great videos and really good painter. So if you have time, go and check 8 Point to Start Painting on YouTube. Glad to have you here, mate. So I think this is time to close it. We have been here for 1 hour and 26 minutes, and I think, yeah, he did his first stream here on YouTube today. So yeah, nothing worked. that usually happens. But yeah, again, we have been here for 1 hour and a half. I think it's time, good enough time, so I can go and play with my kid and take some time to enjoy my family, and I will meet you here on the next live video, which will be the PAB at the end of November. But again, thank you very much for watching. Thank you all my lovely patrons and channel members for their submissions, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.